Welcome to Real Estate Radio.
Always do on Real Estate Radio Live, providing you guys great information and education. Got a good show in store for you today. I'm on my own today, and I have a lot to get to. We're going to be, having given an inventory update recently. We've been talking about the change in the market a little bit, but we're going to talk a little inventory. I'm going to talk a little bit about what the Realtor Association does and what that means to you. You might not realize this, but we're not just people you pay a commission to. We do much more than that. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about some things to watch out for property management, and then we're going to talk about property taxes, which is, I'm sure, on everybody's favorite list. So got a lot to get to, and always when I'm on my own, it's an open forum, and I'll give out the information to call in just a second. But just a reminder for those of you just tuning in, there's a couple different ways you can always listen to our show. That's on the radio at 𝗘𝗀𝗋𝗃 1220 AM, the Wall Street Business Network. Or you can go online and listen to us live online, 𝗘𝗀𝗋𝗃.biz. Or you can go to the Real Estate Radio Live website. That is 𝗓radiolive.com. And you can click the Listen Now button there. Or you can log into your app store and you can download the 𝗘𝗀 app or the iHeartRadio app, and you can listen to us on the go. And we are also podcasting now, and we are on iTunes. So I'm sure you've heard Joe and myself talk about it before. We're really excited about it, and we're now on iTunes. So we're hitting the big time here on Real Estate Radio Live. I guess when you're associated with Apple, anything's possible, right? So that's what we're doing, and we come to you 5 days a week, live, Monday through Friday from 3 to 4 p.m., with bonus coverage Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays from 2 to 3 p.m. And also, we are a live show and love to get your questions and your phone calls on the air. So give us a buzz, 1-800-516-1220, 1-800-516-1220 is the number. Like I said, feel free to interrupt me on the show today whenever I'm on my own. Always an open forum. A little harder to get calls on with guests, and we're in the middle of their train of thought. But today, feel free to call in anytime. Or if you're bashful, you can go online to 𝗏𝗡𝗠𝗡𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 @𝗥𝗱𝗡𝗡𝗘𝗖𝗧, or you can even email me, mike@𝗷radiolive.com, and I can answer your question on the air. And I've been getting questions offline via email, and I really appreciate you guys reaching out. And, Joe and myself are always happy to answer any questions you have real estate related, throughout the week, whether it's during our radio show or not. So that is the intro. And so now we're going to get into some inventory levels. Like you've been hearing, I'm sure you've been hearing me say it, and Joe as well, but we are seeing a shift in the market a little bit, and it's not for the bad. People start freaking out, and it's still a good time, and we are very spoiled here in the Silicon Valley. I even catch myself saying it. I'm out and about. I'm like, God, this one's not getting that much activity. We only had 30 groups through the open house this weekend, whereas, earlier in the year it was 60 plus. So I remember selling real estate when you had to beg somebody to come to your open house, and it was dead for 3 hours, and I'm sitting there eating the cookies and stuff like that. So it's definitely still good. I'm not trying to freak anybody out, but when we've seen 15, 20 to 30% appreciation year over year over the past 3.5 years, there's got to be some point where it starts to level off a little bit in certain areas. Other areas are still very, very hectic, very crazy, but certain areas are leveling off a little bit, and we are seeing that, and we talk about it a lot. And so it's almost like you can pinpoint the certain week that it started to happen. I mentioned on the show before, the office that I'm a part of at 𝗟𝗓𝗡, we're, I think, number 7 in the entire county as far as sales go. And so we have a lot of people doing business in my office, and when we have our meetings with the bullpen and we talk about deals going on, it's happening in certain parts of San Jose, certain parts of Santa Clara County. I know we have listeners that are in different counties, but often you guys know I use Santa Clara County as kind of a barometer for what's going on. So, there is some changes going on, and we just have to be cognizant of it. It's not bad. Things are still good, so don't freak out. So speaking of Santa Clara County, let's talk a little bit about inventory. I don't want to spend too much time and bore you on this, but a lot of people do like to hear these numbers. So In Santa Clara County, we have 1,312 single-family units that are for sale, and that's kind of compared to at the beginning of the year when we had about 1,000 and people were freaking out and it was still really hectic. So right now we have about 1,312 active single-family homes, about 319 condos, townhouses, making a total of 1,631 active homes and condos and townhouses in the entire county, which to be a healthier market, we'd need to be somewhere between 2,000 and 3,000 active units to be more of a healthy market. And we have about 1,526 pending units. So what does that mean? It means that about 51% of the real estate signs you drive by are for sale, and you could put an offer in on it, and then about 49% of the other signs are in contract. So a lot of you avid listeners out there that have heard me give these stats out before, you probably remember earlier on in the year, we had about 60% of the signs you drove by were in contract. So that was a hotter market, which means that less of the signs you drove by were active for sale and more of them were in contract, where now it's almost like a 50-50 split. So you can kind of see the shift there a little bit. And really the shift is just more inventory. But we are at kind of a peak time now, and we're in the middle of October. So once this month winds down, we get into November, we get into Thanksgiving, and then we get into Christmas and New Year's, and then so things as far as inventory goes will level and start to drop a little bit. It's just customary for the time, and not to say it's not a good time to sell during the holidays, because there are a lot of reasons why it's a good time to sell during the holidays, some of which I alluded to on my show last Friday. And if you want me to give you some of those reasons and send those to you, be happy to do that. You can email me, mike@rsradiolive.com. And I'm going to be talking about that over the months to come, because it is, an important topic, because people really think it's not the best time to sell during the holidays, when in fact it can be a good time. So if you disagree with that, call in 1-800-516-1220. So that is the inventory level as far as single family goes. Now, as far on the multifamily side, which a lot of your listeners know I do as well, we have 37 duplexes for sale in Santa Clara County, which is a much higher number than the last time I gave the multifamily out, which was only about 20. So that's almost doubled. We have about 7 triplexes for sale. This is in the entire county, folks. Only 7 triplexes for sale. That is nothing. But that is almost double when the last time I said as well. I think the last time there was only 3 or 4 in the entire county for sale. So that's, we're seeing a trend here. And fourplexes, well, there's only 8 fourplexes for sale in the entire county. 8. That is nothing. So for a total of 52 of those. Now that's really, that is considered multifamily, but from 2 to 4 units is still considered residential. It still uses residential financing. It's not until you get into 5+ units is when you have what's considered a commercial building, and you have to use commercial financing for that. So just keep that in mind. We often like to, focus more on the residential. We will be talking a little commercial in the coming months too. Plan on having some experts on about that. So I don't claim to know everything. Just because I'm on the radio doesn't mean I know everything. And anyone that tells you they know everything about real estate is full of what. So we learn something new every day, and that's what we have as far as the residential side goes: single family, duplexes, triplexes, fourplexes. All right. So that's that. Again, if you have any questions, comments on that, 1-800-516-1220 is the number. I want to segue into the CAR meetings. And people ask me, well, what's CAR? Are you talking about a car? Are you talking about your car? No, I'm talking about the acronym CAR. Stands for California Association of Realtors. And that is the governing body for the entire state of California. We have about 160,000 realtors in the state. And so just last week, the California Association of Realtors has business meetings 3 times a year. Typically, they're in Southern California in the beginning of the year, and then they move around at the end of the year. Well, this last week, it was in San Jose, which happens about every 3 to 4 years. It was in San Jose at the convention center. And they also had an expo there where realtors, companies come with different products, and you go and you learn things, and it's really a great event. Not much different than whatever industry you're in. I'm sure they have expos, and you have to go to them and try to get new products to make you sell and do better. But really what this event is all about are the business meetings. And what happens is every region in California, there's different regions in California that compose the CAR membership, and each region has directors. I happen to be one of them. We've had other directors on the show before. Some of you remember Rick Smith, who is on Joe's show sometimes, and we've had a couple, and Myron Von Racefield. There's a couple realtors that have been on our show that are CAR directors, and so these directors get together, and we talk about different problems that are happening in the real estate industry, and we're mainly concerned with property rights. And so, a lot of you out there that aren't in the real estate business just think, oh, those realtors are, paying them a commission, and that's all they're good for, and that type of thing. Well, what you don't get is that part of our commission and that type of thing, we pay dues to the California Association of Realtors, which then helps pay to lobby in the state Senate, in the House, everything. We are one of the most powerful lobbying bodies in the entire state of California, if not the most. Our leadership at CAR has dinner with the governor, for crying out loud. So that just goes to show you that realtors are very powerful, and better hope we're powerful, because we are helping protect your private property rights. There's thousands of bills that go through the state government every session, which is every 2 years. There's about 5,000 bills that usually go through the session, and I'd venture to, you can't really guess, but about half of those are usually real estate related. So that just goes to show you the amount of volume of things that our CAR leadership and our staff is looking at on a day-to-day basis that's going to help lobby on your behalf as a property owner. So just keep that in mind. Next time you're talking with a realtor, see if they know about what's going on legislatively and ask them questions about that. They should know. They should be in the know. If they're not, reach out to us. Reach out to me. There's a lot of things going on state level, and I'm going to get into one of them on the other side of the break because I got to take a quick one. We're going to talk about property management. So a lot of things going on with property management right now. For those of investors out there that are listening, you're going to want to definitely tune in on the other side of the break to hear about this. So I got to take a quick break. 1-800-516-1220 is the number. 1-800-516-1220 is the number. I'm Mike 𝗔𝗕𝗄𝗯. This is Real Estate Radio Live. Stick around on Real Estate Radio Live, KDOW 1220 AM. And I'm in studio today having a good time. Got a lot to get to today. Love to hear from you guys if you have any questions. 1-800-516-1220 is the number as always. And this segment is brought to you by Giorgio's Italian Food and Pizzeria and Frankie, Johnny, and Luigi's too, the best Italian food around, with 4 convenient locations throughout the Bay Area to serve you. So you can go to Giorgio's and fjlitalian.com. Especially go there for more info on their famous happy hour specials. You can't get much more than a good happy hour. So check that out. All right, so I wanted to talk a little bit about, the last segment I talked about California Association of Realtors. We have business meetings. We have directors throughout the state, and we go and talk about legislation and things that are going to help protect you as property owners, but also as renters too. So one of the things that has really come about, and if you own property and you're managing your own properties, or you want to get into property management, for God knows why you'd want to get into that, but it's a tough business. I thought real estate was tough, but property management's really tough. And even at my company in 𝗘𝗀𝗏, we don't allow, unless you're specifically in property management, we do not allow our agents to manage properties other than their own, but they have to manage their properties on their own without 𝗘𝗏𝗏's name to it, because there's so many things involved in property management. There's so many lawsuits that are coming out now, and one of the big things is companion animals. You've always seen the dogs and those types of animals that are helping their owner out, and that's all great, and they're justified being there. They go through training, and that type of thing. But companion animals are becoming a whole new thing, and what the California Association of Realtors is coming up with is new legislation to help regulate this more, because what's happening is a lot of tenants throughout the state are signing leases, and then after they get into this lease, they're coming up with this certificate to have a companion animal. That some of these companion animals are a little ridiculous, and I'm going to give you a couple of crazy examples in a second. But they're getting these certificates from, they're these doctors out of state. They're getting them online, and the landlords have to. A lot of them are too afraid to deny them because they don't want to get sued. And there are attorneys and lawyer groups throughout the state that are specifically looking for people that are turning these down and suing them. So you got to be really careful when it comes to companion animals. Right now, it's totally out of control. Getting certificates from who knows where, getting them online, and it's just kind of crazy. So now we're working on legislation to better define what a companion animal is, to specify doctors and professionals within the state to do it, et cetera, et cetera. So I want to give you three examples of what is going on and why this is becoming a big deal. I don't want to get too involved in these stories because I don't know every single detail, but here's a couple of things, ridiculous things, in my opinion, that have happened over the past year with these companion animals and why it's come up. So the first one was a tenant signs a lease. They come back. They have a certificate for companion animals. Well, what do you think that these companion animals are? One is a camel, and the other one is a mini pony. So, the problem with that is a lot of houses and a lot of rentals don't have the zoning to have a horse or a pony or a camel, for God's sake, on the property. But these are the type of companion animals that people are trying to bring in. The kicker of that story is that the camel actually died on the property, and they had to get it out of there because it's not meant to live in that type of environment. So that was one. The other one that was, call it funny or not, but this guy had a boa constrictor as his companion animal. And, guess what happened? This wonderful companion animal, this tenant, the cops got called to this property because guess what? His companion animal was trying to choke him to death. So that's another one. And the third one is, I think, the best one, is you have a tenant, you have a multi-level rental property. The tenant upstairs is watering a plant, and that plant and the water is dripping down into the bottom neighbor's balcony, and it's causing dry rot and damage. They call up to say, hey, you can't keep watering that plant. Well, guess what? Guess what that plant was? It was that tenant's companion plant. And so whoever gave that person that certificate is, in my opinion, a little loony. So those are some of the, if you need a companion animal, I get it. But let's make it legitimate, people. If you're in property management, just make sure you are following all the guidelines, and that way, hopefully, you won't get sued. And that's why property management's really tough. So just keep that in mind. Hope you like some of those companion animal stories. If you have a companion animal story, give me a call, 1-800-516-1220. But we got to take a quick break. Back on the other side, for the rest of the show, too, I'm going to be talking a lot about property taxes. The assessor came out with a report recently, which is really good. So if you have any questions, welcome back. This is Mike D'Ambrosio on Real Estate Radio Live, KDOW 1220 AM, the Wall Street Business Network. And I'm in studio today having a good time. If you got any questions, comments, concerns, if you have a boa constrictor as your companion animal, and if you didn't listen to the last segment, you have no idea what I'm talking about. But give me a call, 1-800-516-1220, 1-800-516-1220. Also, on a non-real estate related note, today is National Bosses Day. So if you didn't know that and you forgot, you still have some time. It's only a couple hours left in the workday on Friday. So if you forgot that it is National Bosses Day, then you better get off your butt and go do something. So just keep that in mind. National Bosses Day is today. So anyways, all right. So I hope you enjoyed some of those property management stories and companion animals. And, I don't want to get too technical on any of those stories. It was just more of a, to really show you what people are trying to get away with. And just make sure that you're following the rules and, you'll be okay. So if you want any more information on companion animals, just reach out. Love to hear from you, and be happy to provide you that information. So, all right, let's get into property taxes, and this is just a quick segment, and then I'm going to get more into this on the other side. But, the assessor just recently came out with a nice report, and you can go to their website and check it out. And their website and this is for Santa Clara County. I know we have listeners, all the way from San Francisco to Alameda, but Santa Clara County, we are the mecca of Silicon Valley. So at the sccassessor.org, you can go check this report out. But most of you recently should have just gotten some tax bills, and I'm sure you loved getting that in the mail. I'm going to be sending out a mailer to my database pretty soon here talking about the schedule of taxes. And again, if you want to ever get on any of these lists or mailing lists, just feel free to reach out. I'm happy to send it to you. I send out good, pertinent information every so often. I'm not going to be in your mailbox every week, but every couple of months, sending out things that are worth your reading. So this next one, I want to talk about that because for those of you guys that forgot about property taxes or are new to just bought a home, basically July 1st is the beginning of the fiscal tax year, and so that's how that works. And usually October is when tax bills are mailed, and then you have about a month, and then November 1 is when the first installment is due, and they're due for about a month, and then December 10th is when those tax bills will be delinquent. So you have a little bit over a month to get your first installment in. And then the second installment is usually due in February 1st. And it's delinquent April 10th. So, you have time to pay these bills, but if you're smart about it throughout the year and you're saving monthly, or maybe you have an impound account that's helping you save, if you don't feel like when you're buying property and you don't feel like you are disciplined enough to save that 1.25% of your purchase price, or if you've lived in the property for a long time, you're going to have a different basis. But if you don't feel like you're disciplined enough, have an impound account or have a separate savings account and just have it automatically transfer over there. That way you don't get these tax bills in the mail and start freaking out. So just a little tip and word to the wise. On the other side, I'm going to talk about, and you're going to love this, who are the largest taxpayers in the county? And I think you'll probably recognize some of the names of these companies. So we're going to talk about that, how are taxes allocated, and where we've come as far as the real estate recovery. So that's going to be on the next side. This is a quick segment. 1-800-516-1220 is the number. 1-800-516-1220. I'm Mike 𝗔𝗕𝗄𝗯 on Real Estate Radio Live. Stick around, I'll be. And we've been talking about a whole bunch of stuff today on Real Estate Radio Live, inventory, California Association of Realtors, property management. Now we're getting into your favorite taxes. And this segment's brought to you by Taps Termite, serving the Bay Area for over 45 years. Taps Termite is committed to keeping your living area pest-free by using the newest and safest technology. And you can call Taps anytime for a complimentary inspection. That's 408-259-5900. 408-259-5900, or you can go check out all of our sponsors on my website. That's MikeSells.SiliconValley.com. And we got Taps Termite, Frankie Giant Luigi's, and Giorgio's, and Starburst Construction, too. And I'll talk about them in the next break. So let's get back into taxes, and, we went over when they're due and all that good stuff in the last segment. Now, who can guess who the largest taxpayers are in Santa Clara County? And I'm assuming you've heard of most of these companies. So, and before I get to that, Larry Stone is the Santa Clara County tax assessor. He's a nice guy. I've seen him at a lot of events. He networks his tail off. He's always out and about in the public. And, it's funny when he's at an event and they announce him, everybody usually boos. It's kind of like a running joke. And he takes it in stride. I mean, it's, the guy's just doing his job. But, of course, we'd all enjoy if we didn't have to pay any taxes. But then again, our infrastructure would crumble if we didn't. And I'll get into that in just a second. So taxes are necessary, believe it or not. And last year, we collected almost, I want to say, $3.8 billion in taxes just in Santa Clara County. So that's a lot of cash, folks. And out of that, the largest top 10 taxpayers are, and I don't know if I gave him time to get a drum already, but the biggest one is, number one is PG&E. So I'm sure you've heard of PG&E before, and they've paid about $38 million in taxes. So PG&E is the number one largest taxpayer in Santa Clara County. Number two is Google, and so you can bet a lot of that valuable property up in Mountain View that they have is getting taxed, and they paid about $20 million in revenue. And number three, and not to anyone's surprise if you've driven down Tasman anytime soon lately, and that's Cisco Technology. And Cisco, they pretty much own all of that land, and there's buildings up and down Tasman and all over Cisco. So Cisco, and in fact, I'm surprised Cisco didn't become the naming sponsor of the 49ers stadium. I thought for sure Cisco would be the naming sponsor of what's now called Levi's Stadium, but they didn't, so who knows. And they paid about $16 million in taxes. Number four, and again, to nobody's surprise, is Apple Computers. So Apple paid about almost $11 million in taxes, and I'm sure a lot of you out there listening right now have your iPhone on you, have a computer at home, so Apple has definitely come up in the world. Number five is kind of surprising that they're this high on the list, but I guess maybe not too surprising, is Westfield Malls. So you can kind of check in on the malls around Santa Clara County, and they're paying about $10 million in property taxes. And then rounding out the bottom five of the top 10, you have Intel, you have the Irvine Company, which is a big developer, big builder. They're big in Southern California, but they're definitely making their way up here. And the Irvine Company, well, they're from Irvine, and they're making their way up here. They've done a lot of development, a lot of apartment communities, a lot of commercial. The Irvine Company is very big. So Intel, Irvine, Menlo, and Jupiter Networks is number 8. Number 9 is Pac Bell Telephone and AT&T. And then number 10 is Network Appliances. So again, to round that out, PG&E number 1, Google 2, Cisco Technology 3, Apple Computers 4, Westfield Malls 5, Intel Corporation 6, Irvine Company 7, Menlo and Jupiter Networks 8, Pac Bell and AT&T 9, and Network Appliances 10. So those are the largest taxpayers for Santa Clara County. And again, in Santa Clara County, we had about $3.8 billion in taxes last year. So how is your tax revenue split up? So here's some rough percentages. About 44% of the annual revenue, and this is for 2014-15 fiscal year, 44% goes to K through 12 public schools. So that's probably not very surprising. So 44% to schools, 18% to county. So that includes, county workers, county infrastructures, etc. 14% goes to the cities for their infrastructure. About 11% goes to redevelopment, property tax trust funds, so for projects that they're going to be redeveloping. About 7% goes to community colleges, and about 6% goes to special districts. So a large portion of our tax allocation for the entire county is schools, which is good, and we want to keep it that way. To actually run the county and make sure that our infrastructure is doing well. So that really pretty much accounts for almost 70% of the annual tax allocation. So that's pretty interesting, in my opinion. And then I've got just another minute, and I'm going to start talking about recovery and what we've seen. Obviously the market's gotten better over the last couple of years, so therefore our revenue has gotten better. But really quick, this year alone, almost 14,000 properties in Santa Clara County have risen to the point and gotten all the value they lost during the Great Recession. So every year we've gotten a lot of properties back that are fully restored to their value that they were before the Great Recession. Last year it was almost 40,000 alone. So last year was a big year as far as restoration goes. And this year is becoming a big year too, almost 14,000, and we're still climbing. So that's really what we've seen from a recovery standpoint. And on the other side of the break, I'm going to wrap up the show. I'm going to give up a couple cities, and if you live in these cities, you might be proud. A couple cities that have been the best as far as restoration goes in values. So we're going to do that on the other side. And Mike 𝗔𝗕𝗓𝗏, this is Real Estate Radio Live. And if you got any questions, you can email me, Mike at RERadiolive.com, or you can give us a call, 1-800-5